There's something about birthdays that makes me get all reflective and sentimental. Birthdays mark the passage of time, and it's easy to start thinking about what you've been doing with all that time, how you filled it, perhaps how you've wasted it, and of course, who you've become as the days pile up. So then maybe it's no surprise that today, which happens to be my husband's birthday, I'm thinking a lot about how my relationship with my husband has shaped the person that I am today. So, for today's episode, I'm going to share a few insights about managing perfectionism in the context of marriage. Because your girl here has more than 13 years of experience in doing just that under her belt. Ready? Let's go. Good day, good people. It's your girl, your favorite life coach, and your favorite podcast host, Coach Elizabeth, and I am back for episode number 80 of the Life Edit Project podcast. That's right, 80 episodes, and I thank you for rocking with me. Thank you for tuning in every week. I appreciate you, and I'm glad you're here. I'm also not going to hold you that long because, as I mentioned in the intro, today is my husband's birthday, and it's also the day before Thanksgiving. So I've got a bunch more cooking to do and lots more festivities to take part in. So let's just go ahead and dive into this conversation. If you are a perfectionist, or if you're like me, a recovering perfectionist, and you are either already married or you're working towards marriage, you need to practice managing your perfectionism on purpose. Period. Full stop. It's not up for debate. And here's why. Because perfectionism in relationships kills intimacy. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Perfectionism in relationships kills intimacy. And you will not be able to have a successful, happy, fulfilling, long-term relationship like marriage without intimacy. Now, hear me. Yes, it is possible to stay married for a long time, even without intimacy. But a marriage without intimacy is gonna suck eggs. And you deserve better than that. So I want to give you some insights to help you create more intimacy in your relationship, even if you happen to have perfectionist tendencies. So first, how does perfectionism kill intimacy? Well, in a lot of ways, to be quite honest. Some of those ways are going to depend on what your specific perfectionism personality is. And I've talked about perfectionism personalities before. I have laid out a framework of 5 different perfectionism personalities. Go back and check out that episode if you are not familiar with it. But here's the bottom line. No matter what your perfectionism personality is, when you are chasing perfection instead of growth, the intimacy between you and your spouse suffers. If you are operating from a perfectionist mindset, doesn't matter how that perfectionism displays for you, if you are operating from the perspective of a perfectionist mindset, you are going to be doing things like trying to control everything, or you're going to be less authentic than you could be. You're going to be avoiding conflict or resisting change and spontaneity, or even fighting against vulnerability. And when you are doing all of those things, guess what you're not doing? You're not taking the time to truly see and understand your spouse. And you're also not allowing your true self to be seen and to be known. So if you're not focusing on seeing your spouse, and if you will not let your true self be seen, then there is no intimacy. Because what is intimacy? I'm going to give you a Coach Elizabeth definition. Intimacy is the closeness that happens as a result of being truly known and seen and accepted. And that's what I have in my marriage. And that is what I desire for you. If that's what you want, if that's the kind of marriage you want, then I'm going to give you 2 tips for managing perfectionism in the context of marriage. And this comes from both my own personal experience of being married and being a recovering perfectionist, as well as my experience as a life coach and having coached well over 100 different individuals who, many of whom have struggled with some version of perfectionism, and all of whom have been in relationship with somebody, maybe not marriage, but where perfectionism has impacted their relationships. Okay. So here's the first tip. Make connection with your spouse one of your top goals of your life, of your marriage. Make connection with your spouse a top goal. And I know I can hear you right now. You're saying, okay, but if I'm married, obviously staying connected to my spouse is a goal. No, hear me. You need to keep connection with your spouse in the forefront of your mind and not just operating in the background of your life. Because marriage creates lots of friction points and lots of small, tiny moments where you have to choose how you're going to show up and how you're going to respond. And if you are not deciding to stay connected to your spouse on purpose in all of those decisions, then eventually your decisions will end up creating distance between you and your spouse. Because here's the thing. People don't just grow apart. Yes, people who are married grow apart all the time, but growing apart isn't just a thing that happens and is inevitable. Growing apart happens because people make a series of small decisions where they choose themselves as an individual over choosing their marriage as a unit. So the good news is that you can avoid that type of distance and that type of drifting apart if you focus on creating connection on purpose. All right. So that's the first tip. The second tip I have for you is to reframe vulnerability as a strength inside your marriage instead of as a weakness. I will be totally honest and say I am still a work in progress, right? I am a recovering perfectionist. I'm not a fully delivered perfectionist, right? So I'm not perfect at this. And I know because every now and then my husband will say to me something to the tune of, I'm here. You don't have to do everything on your own. Tell me what it is that you need. I got you. And he has to say things like that because he has to remind me that I am not just me by myself, that I am us, that it is the two of us together and that we get to face the challenges of life and just the regular, ordinary circumstances of life together, never by ourselves. And I want to offer you this. Giving your spouse a chance to show strength in the face of your own singular weakness makes you stronger as a unit. It makes you a better team. And likewise, when your spouse gives you the opportunity to be strong within the context of their own weakness, again, it makes the unit that is the two of you together stronger. And so vulnerability in the context of a marriage where intimacy already exists actually creates strength and connection. But vulnerability is often one of those things that perfectionists try to avoid like the plague. So yes, this is easier said than done. Both of these tips are going to be things that you have to decide to do on purpose, because if you are a perfectionist or if you have perfectionist tendencies or are operating under a perfectionist mindset, then your default settings are to try to do you perfectly and to avoid vulnerability and weaknesses. And I just want to let you know that in marriage, the rules are different. Maybe you don't like that. Maybe you don't want to hear that. But if you want a successful and deep and fulfilling marriage, then you get to acknowledge that. Okay, that is all I got for you because I got other things to do, y'all. I hope you have a wonderful and happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate that. If you are spending time with family and friends, I hope that y'all stay connected and that there's intimacy and safety for you in those relationships. And then, of course, if you want help or support in managing your perfectionism in the context of your relationship, book a sales call with me to learn about and sign up for my one-on-one coaching. And I can help you create deeper intimacy in your marriage and in any other kind of relationship, even if you happen to be a raging and recovering perfectionist. All right? Go forth and partner. Peace.